Welcome back to the Pyramyd Insider, friends. My name is Tyler Patner, and today we are picking up our PCP fill source series. Call it PCP 101 if you want, I don't know. But today we're gonna talk about hand pumps in greater detail, gonna show you how they work. Now, of all the PCP 101 videos that we're gonna make, this is my least favorite, okay? Because I have to actually show you how this works, and hand pumping is the only one of these fill methods that is actually a physical endeavor. So, if you're not into that, and I could understand why you wouldn't be into that, hand pumps are not for you. Let's just get that out of the way now. But they are the least expensive option, and yes, while they do require you to put in some physical effort to get out the air pressure that you need to put into your PCP gun, they work pretty well. And it's a good backup if you need a backup, if you're out in the field, if you're moving around, right? So let's talk about the anatomy of a hand pump really quick. This is a hand pump. Looks like a bike pump, but inside it is much different than a bike pump. Your bike pump pumps up to, I don't know, 120, 150 PSI, something like that. This thing can pump up to, well, in this case, about 3,500 or so. Some hand pumps go all the way up to 4,500. So depending on what hand pump you purchase will determine the output it can go to. But obviously, to get up to those higher pressures, there's some more stuff going on inside of here. Usually these are 3 or 4 stage pumps, meaning the air travels through 3 or 4 individual stages within the pump to help compress it up to that higher pressure. And there's a lot going on here, but at the core, it's a bike pump, right? Physically, that's what it looks like. So you have your handles here, you have your pump tube, you have the underlying pump shaft, you have a bleed valve usually, which in this case is this little brass screw on the back, and that's going to allow you to then build pressure and then bleed out the pressure once you fill your gun up. Most of them will have a gauge of some sort and of course an output hose. Now in the case of this Crosman hand pump, we do have a little cigarette style filter on the end and a quick disconnect fill fitting. That's pretty much the basic anatomy. This guy has little folding feet, so you can kind of pack it up into a relatively nice compact package for storage if you need to. Some other ones like this Hill pump, for example. This guy, if you buy the base Hill Mark V pump, which is a fantastic pump, it's probably the best pump on the market, but it's also the most expensive, so know that going in. This pump does not come with a quick disconnect fitting. We do sell a kit where you can get the QD fitting to plug into the end of the hose here, but just know that. So if you do have a gun with like a fill probe, your fill probe probably will thread right into the end of this hose. But if you want to use a quick disconnect fitting setup to connect to multiple guns, you're going to need an adapter. That's also another part of PCP ownership in general, is adapters and fittings and all that stuff that you need to know in order to be able to hook up your gun to your pump or your tank or your compressor. And we'll touch on that in different ways in these videos, so just pay attention. There's a few major fittings you need to be aware of, and our website is actually a very handy tool. Hopefully they'll drop in a nice little screen grab here where we have a PCP hookup section that will tell you what fittings you need for the gun you're about to buy, and based off what you're going to fill it with. So we're trying to remove as many of those hurdles as possible for you guys. But now that we know what the anatomy of a pump looks like, let's talk about connecting your gun and then subsequently me getting out of breath and pumping. All right, friends. So in the case of the gun that we've chosen today, this is an Umarex Iconics. We've done a review of this recently. And the reason I chose it is because it has a really small air cylinder and it only fills to 3,000 PSI compared to some other guns that filled like 4,350. So this gun comes with a fill probe. The nice thing about this fill probe is that it has a quick disconnect machined onto the end of the probe. So I insert the probe into the gun that is snapped in and ready to go. I'm gonna put the gun down, and then I'm gonna connect the QD from my pump. This is an Air Venturi G9 pump. It also, like the Crosman pump I showed you earlier, has a little built-in cigarette style filter and a QD. So you're gonna snap the QD, the female, onto the male. And if I need to explain to you why it's called a female and a male, you missed health class, kids, okay? So just keep that in mind. Female, male. It's exactly what you think it is. Have a laugh, it's okay. Anyway, now, we are connected, all right? You wanna make sure that the snap ring on the female is not gonna pull off of the male. That is very important because once you start putting pressure into that line, regardless of if you're pumping, filling from a tank or a compressor, it can pop off if it is not snapped forward. So make sure that this fitting is not snapped back like this and pushed forward just like you see it here, and that'll work just fine for you. From there, very easy. You're just gonna close the bleed valve on your pump like so. So clockwise, you will feel it get tighter, and that'll keep your air from escaping out and allow you to actually build pressure. And now I got a pump. The actual act of pumping, very simple. You grab the handles, you pull up. You wanna pull up until it stops. That's gonna suck air into the pump, and then you are going to want to push down. All right, very simple. One tip for those of you out there, you'll see me bend my knees, okay? That is something you're gonna wanna do. You don't just wanna arm it, okay? You're gonna end up out of breath way faster. Now, because there's already air in the gun, I am just building pressure to match the air in the hose to the pressure in the tank of the gun currently, which is about 2,000 PSI. And we're there. Now I'm pumping. Okay, I don't weigh enough to actually push this down. All right, that's a 3. Is that a 3? Yeah, anyway, okay. Put one more in it. All right, we're right about 3,000 PSI. Looks to be about the same on the gun. So, it's a bit of a labor-intensive process, right, as you can see. And you could imagine going higher pressure, right, is gonna be more difficult. Filling something larger is going to require more strokes. So, labor-intensive. If you don't want to spend time pumping, don't buy a hand pump. But you saw it, not that difficult to do. Now that we're filled up though, the last thing you have to do is bleed the line. So come down here, grab our bleeder, and twist counterclockwise. You will get a little bit of moisture out. Hand pumps, this is the biggest downer for hand pumps, is because they're pulling in air right here and then compressing it in real time without a lot of filtration in between there. You do get some moisture through this. So that's the biggest downer for a hand pump as a system, aside from the physical labor part. But now there is zero pressure, you can see that on the gauge here, between our hand pump and our gun. So we can go and disconnect. Very simple, you pop the QD off, and now we're good to go shoot. Very simple. So friends, that's hand pumps in a nutshell for you. They're a pretty simple system, they work fairly well, but like I said, they do require a little bit extra effort on your part. And I know some of you may not be into that, but if you're budget conscious or you want something that's always gonna be there at the ready, you don't have to rely on anybody else to fill, you don't need electricity for it, it's probably not a bad idea to have one as backup. Just food for thought. Anyway, we'll see you at the next installment of our PCP 101 series. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all those things. I'm gonna go enjoy the fruits of my labor now and hit the range. We'll see you next time.
Come on, man.
Brian, if you think it's so easy, why don't you come give it a try?
Fine.
See what you think. Yeah.
Can't just hook this up to something?
The pump?
Yeah.
No. Almost there. It's the last couple that really get you. This looks fine. You're close enough for government work.
Going back behind the camera.
All right, buddy. Good talk, yeah?